part of being an authentic person is saying, if I'm going to devote this many hours of my daily existence, I can't do it in a way that is fake. I can't do it in a way that misleads. I can't do it in a way where people think I'm doing it with other motive.
Hello, business human. Are you a misfit? A person who wants to make a difference in this business world? Are you one of the unconventional, the visionaries, the quiet innovators, the heart-centered leaders, the purpose-driven, the community builders, the givers? Then you are my people. I used to think business was a secret formula to be discovered and followed, but now I know it isn't a set of rules. It's an exciting, creative adventure. And I want to be on that adventure with you. I am your lady of business, Melody Edwards. Welcome to the Business Misfits podcast. Why, hello, Misfit. It is I, Melody, your lady of business. And today I'm talking with Curt Kempton, founder of Symphonize and Responsibid, which is a great sales automation software. I have known Curt for over a decade, but as you hear in the episode, he has very few friends, so I'll just say I was his best acquaintance. He's truly one of my original business misfit role models. He also created pretty much my favorite industry conference of all times. It was the best because you know how you go to a conference, you're learning so much stuff, you're so overwhelmed with information that it's hard to figure out what to implement, and so we don't do it. Well, not only did we go to a lot of interesting classes at Responsicon, but he had hacking rooms where we would implement the things that we learned while we were there. How smart is that? I even taught a couple classes over the years at that event, and it was so fun. But it's also the only place that I've ever been where the bar was a milkshake bar. We went really deep in this episode. We talked about all the sparkly brain visionary things. It's the longest episode to date, but I think it's going to be one of my most impactful because we really shined a light onto many of the experiences that often leave business owners like you and me feeling isolated and alone. We talked about the importance of emotional intelligence and leadership, tricking yourself into consistent habits, selling our vision to our team, the future and impact of AI on small businesses. We went in a big circle of information, but it's all so amazing. And listen, reach out and let me know your thoughts on this. Curt and I felt like this was a really important conversation, and I would love to know what resonated with you because I love doing episodes like this. So, without further ado, I hope that you enjoy this episode with Mr. Curt Kempton. Where are you located? Where are you right now?
Right now, I am in northern Arizona at a family reunion.
Yeah, your fashion, it seems like it might be cold-based fashion.
Yeah, I normally do not get to be in cold weather, but right now it is 43 degrees, which to you is probably nothing. I know.
That sounds hot, but that's okay. For right now in Massachusetts, that's pretty warm. It was like 20 something today and I was outside feeling like life was good. So, yeah, but it's okay. We all are acclimated to where we are, right?
Yeah.
So the first question I always ask everyone is, do you feel like you're a business misfit?
I don't know if I feel like I'm a business misfit, but I do, and I guess this is going to fly right in the face of that, is I feel like I'm making everything up as I go along all the time. And I think that business has been like the way I've provided for my family since almost day one. So I don't think I like misfit feels like I'm somehow an outsider. It's part of who I am. Like I don't feel outside of who I am, but I do feel like I don't know. Like when you're making everything up, it does kind of feel like does everybody else have this figured out except me? But I've talked to enough people to know that I think everyone's making it up as they go.
I love that you said that right off the bat because as you know, I feel the same way. I don't know what I'm doing ever. I have a lot of knowledge. I have a lot of things that I've learned. I learn in masterminds just like you. Do you have imposter syndrome ever, or do you feel like that's something you've gotten over or
I mean, Melody, I don't know any other way to be with you but candid, and I know this is going to go out to a bunch of people, and it's probably a horrible thing to like put out into the world.
no?
But I've said it to my employees. I don't know that I'll always be the CEO of my company. Like when you say, "Do I have imposter syndrome?" I see other CEOs who I'm sure are also making up as they go along, but they've got lots of different kinds of history, even corporate America history, which as much as I'm not a big fan of corporate America, I do think that people who get that sort of experience and then like, corporate America, you just go get it and then you leave and who cares? Like it'll just keep going on. But in our world, like we start something, we just see it all the way through. Super hard. And it also limits the amount of experience that you get. And so I've told my employees, my heart's big enough for this company that if at any time I am not the right person to run this company, I will step down instantly and hand it over to the right person. I'm ready for that.
I love
But
that.
yeah,
Thank you for saying that too, because I literally say the same thing. And we're so similar in that way. And I'm not afraid to say that. Like, I would love to be the chief vision officer for my company forever, or the chief cheerleader, or mostly I like just visioning. We're both the sparkly brained human who loves coming up with the million ideas and also loves solving problems and then also has a huge list all the time. But what's wrong
Melody,
with saying that? More people need
you
to
know
hear
what?
that kind of stuff. Yeah.
I look at you and I go, you are the epitome of like you're putting me in the same category with you. I feel like you're kind of at the top of that pyramid of sparkly ideas and stuff. Over time, I found that having too many ideas as CEO is actually oppressive to my company because no one can keep up with the ideas, and then I end up begrudging them because they can't keep up, and then they begrudge me because I can't stay the course, and like it's in a sense you have to quash it. If you have to quash it if you're going to be good at it, and, like a horse, it operates best with a bridle, right? If you wanna ride a horse around, you need to not kill the horse, but you do have to bridle it, and you do need to control it, and, whatever that bit feels like in a horse's mouth, I don't know what that feels like, but I'm assuming it's not great because you can control a whole big old horse with that little tiny thing in its mouth. Anyway, I appreciate you throwing me into that, but I will say that when I watch you in conversation or in business or in friendships, like not even just our friendship, but like watch you in friendship. One of the things I've always admired about you is that you can just like spit that bridle out at the appropriate times and just be just like wild and free. And like, I don't, I wish I could do it more. I wish I could.
You could.
I could.
Kurt, here's the thing. I have learned the same thing as you. You were my model of sparkly brained human, by the way. When I first met you, it was probably like 15 years ago. Well, maybe it was more because I was diagnosed with attention deficit as an adult when I was about 30 or so. And nobody talked about it like it was like a good thing back then. It was definitely not, but I wanted to understand my brain. And in the business world that I was in at that point, there was really nobody who was like me. You were the first person that I met in that world who was like me. And you were willing to talk about it in a way, and you lived it in the way that you did business. And so what I've learned in since you and I learned a lot from you, believe it or not,
Oh,
I need a vision strainer, and I have one in my company now, so I can tell her all my ideas. She's like, "Those are great. Yeah, we're not doing that right now because of this." And we'll have a back and forth about it. But I love that because I need that kind of back and forth. I don't want just people saying yes around me,
yeah.
but it frees me to have all of that openness in my brain and not to feel constrained. I don't like feeling constrained because it's painful. Do you have a vision strainer for you?
Well, aside from my wife, well, my wife actually would let me run. She thinks I could run through a brick wall, so she wouldn't even try to stop me. She would just, like, push from behind. I do have a couple people at my company, particularly I'm thinking of Brittany. Brittany is the one who will tell me the hard truths when it's time,
Yes.
and I'm actually thinking of, like, 18 different conversations just rushing through my mind right now of where I'm like, "I know no one else is gonna tell me I'm crazy, so I need you to do this right now." And I'll, like, tell her, and she'll be like, "Yes, you are crazy, but
Yeah.
we could put it over here." Or the other one is, "Hey, Kurt, you know it and I know it. Let's talk about something." And I'll be like, you're gonna make me say it." And she's like, "Yeah, why don't you just go ahead and say it right now?" So So anyway, yeah, I think that having someone like that in your life is great. And I have other people in the company who will do it. I've never certified someone like that though. Like you have. It sounds like you have someone who wears a badge that says
No.
visions.
Well, we just call her that on our accountability chart. That's one
Oh,
of her things. She's the
okay.
vision strainer. But it really helps me to she's really just an integrator or an operations manager. But her personality is just the perfect match for mine where she can listen. She's very patient. I don't I'm somebody who has to talk out my ideas. My brain thinks too fast to write it down. And then but she listens, which is the first most important part of it, and then she validates, and then she says why we need to wait on that thing or why, but at least I know that it's been heard and it's in a pile somewhere. My assistant does the same thing for me, and it's the thing that I'm really good at. I train executive assistants to work with people like us because we have really simple systems. We have to be tricked into doing things. I have things all the time that I don't want to do. I'm like, they're just mental block. And so we have a master list. Everything I ever tell her goes on this list in order of, importance or urgency. But there's also like who's in charge of it. There's one called Christine Poke Mel because those are the ones that I'm gonna fight. So it might be that I should be responsible for it, but I'm not going to be because she has to poke me and we both have to acknowledge it.
So, Brittany, as amazing as she is, there's so much of her I still don't, we actually just had the conversation like Wednesday or Thursday. There's so much of mystery about her to me that I don't understand. And one of the things is that there's certain things I'll say that she'll metabolize differently. And one time in a public setting, I told her that she's the one I fight with. And that was so degrading to her. She's like, "We don't fight. We respect each other. We are not brother and sister. We are so much more than fighting." And I said it in a way that really like, and it killed me to think that she metabolized it the way I didn't intend. But I thought it was so interesting when she pulled me aside and, what I would have categorized as a fight, right? Like, but we
It's a
literally did
debate.
it. Yeah. Well, it was one of those times when it was like, "Look, I care about you so much. I'm willing to fight for whatever it takes to, like, understand this correctly." But she's like, "I know what it means, and you know what it means, but other people, I don't want them thinking that you're fighting with me because you and I are far beyond that." And it's just interesting because you just used the word, fighting and poke mouth. You described it as fighting. And
Well,
I
it's
know what
self-deprecating. To me, it's self-deprecating language,
yeah.
and you probably meant it, I imagine, the same way of just like,
Well, I love it when she stands up to me, and I'll call it that. I'll be like, "Stand up to me and push me." And what we've always said is that I'm fighting for the customer. I'm not fighting against you. I'm fighting for the customer. And she'll say the same thing to me. Or I'm fighting for the employees, or I'm fighting for this. Now, just to be clear, Brittany's role is product manager, and she is so smart. She is so stinking smart, but her heart's big. And that's to me, being smart is really not even half the battle, right? Being smart's cool. Being smart does allow you to come up with cool and creative is another thing. Being smart and creative are not necessarily the same thing, but they can really go well hand in hand. She's both. But it's the spine, that spine and that courage. Man, I love that. I respect the heck out of it.
it's hard to find it too. I In my business journeys, as I've looked back on every employee I've ever had, anybody, even my husband, he doesn't like to debate, quote unquote, as I call it. Finding somebody who doesn't mind doing it, who it's not painful for, to have that back and forth is so exciting to me because I'm we're both emotionally intelligent, growth-minded humans. Well, I'll speak for myself. I know that there's so much I don't know, and when I get an idea and a vision, it seems so clear, and it just feels because we're looking so forward and in all the circle around us, it's hard for other people who aren't like that to see it the way that we do. And also, sometimes I'm missing context, sometimes I'm not paying attention to important things right in front of me or especially when it comes to my team, one of the things that we've had so much change in the past year in our company, we changed industries, and not only industries, we're changing to more of like serving a psychographic, not just an industry, which is hard. I like to do business the hard way, of course. But I lost my business partner. I don't know if you knew that.
I
She
didn't
didn't
know that.
die. Yeah, our partnership broke up last year. And so but from that, some good things came, but I'm a collaborator, and so to lose that collaboration was really devastating, and so there's been a lot of change in the company, and to have this person who's Denise, I have Christine, I have people in my company, like the best team, and that we're all on the same page, and part of that is because I can sell them the vision, and you are a vision seller too. I know that about you. How do you do it? How do you help people to see the impact that you wanna make, and how do you keep moving forward with your team?
You told me I'm a vision seller. I'm like, yeah, that is like basically all I do all day. And then I was like, I suck at it. Yeah. The reason I said that in my mind afterward is that I went through a period of my time as a business owner, and I feel like I was really good at selling vision, and I had so much energy. And then I started realizing that no one can keep up with my vision. I can't make it come alive fast enough. And it really, like, it's something you have to live with. And you can live with it lots of different ways, but one of my coping mechanisms was to just always assume that the future is where all my hopes and dreams are. And so what would happen is when people didn't understand my vision, I felt that it was a waste of time to talk about something that's gonna happen 5 years from now. So I got lulled into a sense of keep your vision to yourself and only tell people what they need to know for the next 3 to 6 months, because you're gonna be so frustrated if you keep trying to go beyond that. Well, I did that, and in that process was the part where we announced that we were gonna make some big changes at Responsibid, and then they ended up becoming way harder, way, way, way harder, and we couldn't roll them out, and we just ran up problem because and that was just so defeating because it was like, I see it. I see where we're going. I keep seeing, out of development, we keep producing all these great things, but they're not compatible with the current things, and they can't show them to the world, and I can't do anything about it. And we got stuck there. I thought we were like talking about 3 months, and we ended up being like 5 years before we rolled anything out. And you know what's funny? When we finally broke free is when I started talking about people about my whole vision. And it kills me to say this, but I think I stalled my business probably for years by keeping people in a box of just here's what needs to be done now. And when I went back to my more invigorated self, about a year ago is when we first launched the cascade of all of the new stuff that's been coming out for a year. About a year before that is when I finally started saying, guys, you don't understand how this all fits in the big picture. And I am so tired of everyone asking me these basic questions that don't even need to be asked. And it kind of came from a place of frustration, kind of
Yeah.
came from a place of frustration. And I told everybody what I'm trying to do in the company. And I tried to, like, I just spelled it out. And then I just got this huge relief of I'm not hiding anything anymore. And it wasn't hiding anything. It was because if I put it down, I wouldn't bother people.
Did you think they couldn't handle it because you had felt like they couldn't handle it, or
I felt like they had a to-do list that was a mile long, and I was just adding things to their to-do list that would just overwhelm. I don't know if I didn't. Yeah, you know what? I did feel like, look, if you guys can't roll out what I want in the next 3 months, how in the world could I tell you about what I want in the next 10 years? I'll kill you. I'll break all of you.
Yeah.
Anyway, yeah, so you're married, you have kids. In your marriage, if you hold back and you don't communicate and you don't bother the other person, you will build up resentment and you will cause just catastrophe after catastrophe. In fact, probably the moment you make that decision, for anyone listening right now, I mean, I've seen it time and again. It's when you don't want to bother the other person that that's probably about the time that everything is going to start falling apart. I'm lucky I survived it in my business, but I see it now. I see what I did wrong now. And I always talked about this finish line that we're trying to get across, and everyone was okay with us working towards a finish line. The fact is it was just a tiny little milestone within a big, huge journey. And when it went into that right context, boom, we just start rolling stuff out, rolling stuff out, rolling stuff out, rolling stuff out. And it's like, it's not even the same world anymore. So just to kind of get back to, I think, where your question was headed is like selling vision. I took some time off from selling vision and it was a huge mistake. I don't want to do
Yeah,
that again.
I no, I've never shied away from selling vision. Not a sales lady, I'm an educator, so but, like, the vision in my brain is so big sometimes, and how can I possibly expect people to want to be with me, to stay with me on this journey, and to believe in something? And I think you and I both understand that if you wanna create a company culture where people wanna be there and care more about their job than any amount of money or benefits could make happen, you have to be selling something more than just money and benefits. And so you actually were somebody very pivotal in my business journey. I remember because I've always had an intuitive understanding of how I wanted to serve people or how I wanted to put myself forward in front of employees as a leader, but I never felt confident in my leadership. And so I used to it wasn't until I call it I let go of my cool, which is really just my New England sarcasm, I guess, and really just opened up to my employees in a way that I felt very uncomfortable doing. And it was then that I started like, even the people I thought would never buy into a vision, I was shocked at how much it mattered to them.
Really.
And so you and your company and your former companies, I specifically remember pancake breakfasts for
Oh, yeah.
your clients, which inspired some of my coffee thank you. I don't know what I would call it. It's not a party, but I would invite all of my clients to coffee, but I was terrified they wouldn't show up, which I was like, "How did Curt get all those people to show up to his pancake breakfast?" But I offered $1,000 to anybody, like, that could be split among local nonprofits of people's choice if they showed up. And that's what really brought people in. Then they would sit with my employees and we'd all talk and hang out. It was amazing. That was inspired by pancake breakfast, Curt. So,
Yeah, I remember when I rolled that out thinking, "This is crazy." My window cleaner wants me to come to a park and have all their employees serve me Rachel's special buttermilk syrup and pancakes, and have a magician out. We had a magician come. This was really cool guy. Like, he was really good. Anyway, we have a video like, you can watch we had a couple of them. We had videos online that you can watch about it, but I remember being afraid that if I pronounced it as a customer appreciation breakfast, I was afraid that people would think it was like the car dealership that does customer appreciation to get people to come buy stuff from them or whatever. So I remember we worked so hard to frame it in a way where they understood that we genuinely want to serve you in a new way and just show you how grateful we are to have you as customers. That's all we're trying to do. And we did it.
well, you're a giver like I am. And I think sometimes people don't know how to just like, why would you just want to give something for no reason? That doesn't make any sense. That's what my brain is always saying that those people are thinking because
Yeah.
I can tell lots of
Where's the
stories.
catch?
Yeah,
Yeah.
what's the
You're
catch
like,
here?
how do I disarm you that there is no catch?
I think that's been an actually a problem for me because I'm so afraid that people are going to think that I'm trying to catch them or trying to fool them because I'm afraid of that myself that I undersell and I always have because and I think that what I do and every time I've ever had a business and I think the same for you, I have always done it with all my heart and I've given so much into it. And it's never been motivated by money. Of course, money matters, but it's for me, it's a sense of purpose, a sense of impact that drives me and continues me.
Well, part of being an authentic person is saying, if I'm going to devote this many hours of my daily existence, I can't do it in a way that is fake. I can't do it in a way that misleads. I can't do it in a way where people think I'm doing it with other motives. You've been taken advantage of by people who were in it for the money, and it felt so hollow to you. I mean, I'm just saying it because I know we're the same person in this way.
Yes, so many times.
Yeah, and so you're like, there are people who are driven by money and they would absolutely scam me out of anything or blow me up because all they care about is money. And you're like, I have to be wherever they're at on the spectrum. I got to be on the opposite side because I am not. And then we pay this crazy price because we've overcompensated, overcorrected. It's not right.
Yes,
It's where money is important, and I've gotten to the point where money's not important. That's wrong. Money is the fuel of your airplane that your business is trying to fly. You have to have fuel. And if you turn your business into this big service project, your employees will pay the price, you will fail, your kids will pay the price. Like, you can't do it. So this overcorrection that you and I are prone to, and I think there's others like us. I mean, we're not the only authentic people in the world. I'm sure
so
almost every
many.
list
Yeah.
we fall into that trap, and it's a deadly trap.
Well, one of my business coaches once told me something that completely changed my mindset. And it's very simple. A business can be a ministry, but not a charity. And for me, it just was like, oh, I get it now.
Yeah. My window cleaning company, we used to have a thing where we would wash our customers' feet. So, he's talking about ministry. Obviously, washing people's feet in today's day and age is weird, but it was really important to Christ when he was on earth, and Jesus taught his people to love one another and to serve one another, and And people paid us to come and clean their windows, power wash their house, do all the stuff we did. But I wanted to somehow bring this element of washing feet in without weirding anybody out. So the way we did it, we had a special bucket and a special sponge, and we had just like a special brush, like a brush. It was just the only reason they're on the truck was for cleaning the threshold of the front door. And the way it worked is
Wow.
that once you're done cleaning the windows, you don't say a word to anybody. The person who says they're going to invoice, they go inside to go invoice the customer, get the money, and make the collection and all that. The other person just quietly goes to the front door, does this little ritual thing, like not like, ooh, ritual's not good. I don't like the way that came across,
No,
but we do
that
this.
sounds great because anybody listening gets it. So,
Yeah, we would come in, the bucket would get clean water, not the dirty wash water we just used for the windows. Clean water, clean soap. We would sponge and clean, brush all the dry stuff off, wash it, dry it with a nice fresh towel. And that was just a moment where we were just saying, if the customer asks, we'll tell them what we're doing. We're not hiding it, but this is we're gonna clean their front door's threshold, and it's washing their feet. And we knew what it meant, and so that was part of what we would talk about.
that's really lovely. I love that. I wanna ask you to go a little bit deeper, not onto the washing of the feet necessarily, but although I do remember a commercial you once made where you were washing Rachel's feet, weren't you?
No, no,
Or
no, no,
somebody
no.
else's?
It was an actress, and I was, painting her toenails.
Okay,
Oh,
even
I can't
better.
believe it.
That was the
Oh,
best
man.
commercial, you were way ahead of your time, I just want you to know that, but it was really smart and fantastic. So, one of the things you were just talking about your faith, I grew up in faith as well, and I still have spirituality in my life, and really what it is my morals are very much based in my faith and all of that and my value system, and it really is important to me. And I find in business sometimes the things that I see or that I'm experiencing are out of alignment with my values, and so it's been really difficult for me because that business would be so much easier if I just did whatever. I know how to make money, I do, I just can't do it the way that everybody else does, and that makes business very hard. And so how do you I'm guessing that you're like me in that way. How do you make sure that the way that you do business is in alignment with your values without pushing people out? It's not about people, it's about the way that you do the thing, if that makes sense.
Wish I could think of an example right off the top of my head. I'm struggling to come up with an exact example. But if I took you back like 10 years with me or even 20 years with me when I first started business, I went against the grain. Like everything was a new system for me. And I didn't care what other people did. I just needed to do it my way. And I fought against the tools that were actually already made available. I fought against the systems that people were already using. I just kept making my own systems and like just white knuckling it through every single process. And it's exhausting, especially because you would bring people on who had used other systems and you'd be like, forget everything you know because I didn't ever look at it and I don't know anything about it. And I need you to know about this way of doing it because my way was the best way. And, I felt like that's what I had to do to be authentic to my vision is that don't adopt anyone else's vision. Don't adopt anyone else's processes. It's not authentic enough. It's kind of like trying to make Italian food, but throwing some ragu sauce in. That's your red sauce. Like, wait, are you making authentic food or not? And the fact is that along my way, I've learned to figure out what hills I want to die on because I really did almost, no, I didn't really almost kill myself. What do I mean? I truly was wearing myself out much faster than I needed to be worn out. So I know for sure that I do not have a diagnosed OCD. I'm not I'm people use OCD very loosely, like it's some flippant, funny, cool thing. People are like struggling like crazy with OCD. I may have a tiny touch of like the real version of a not diagnosed, but like I think I might have a little bit of it because it's very painful sometimes. It's very painful to sometimes just say, I know this is in your head, and I know that this is what you think it has to be, Kurt, and I know that you feel like you're not being true to yourself if you look outside of yourself to see what other people are doing. But Kurt, for your own good, for the health of your company, for the health of your other people around you, please pull your head out of your butt for just a second, look around, and just see if there's a red sauce out there that is rated well, delicious to the masses. You could even maybe put your own flavors into it additionally, right? But just give it a second and look, and that hurts. Like that can be really painful because like, no, I have to go grow my own basil. I have to pick my basil with clean hands, and then I have to grow my fennel, and I have to harvest it. Like, no, Curt, you don't have to do that. And so I know that you're like, Curt, did you hear my question or not? Yes, I did
No,
hear.
no. I know
Okay.
you're getting there.
So your question, to remind the viewers of like, I've been down a few rabbit holes. Your question is like, how do you deal with the fact that people in the world operate different than the way that your DNA is driving it? That wasn't
Not
exactly,
just DNA, your values, your integrity.
but it's woven into you. Like you can't get away from it, and you can spend your whole life. I mean, I spent so much time being angry that these people are doing business wrong and look at them succeeding. And they're just a bunch of charlatans out there winning. And then you look at God. God, how are you letting these people win? These are horrible people. You know it. I know it. We know it. And the fact is that being angry isn't helping your cause. And being inside your own head is isolating. And so what I have had to learn to do is I have had to learn to just create my own filter of, does this fit my values? I'm going to adopt it and I'm going to bring it in and I'm going to make it my own if I have to. But if it doesn't fit my values, I'm not going to be angry about it. I'm not going to. I used to get so angry. In fact, I can name to you people in our industry who I just really disagree with their business practices. And I actually found myself, if I was being true, I wouldn't have ever said it out loud, but if I was being true with myself, I actually felt that I hated them. And I'm saying that out loud right now. I'm saying it not as a badge of honor. I'm saying it just to be really true here is that there are people who didn't deserve my hate. They just saw the world differently than me. I really disagree with their business practices. And I would allow, like, ugh, I'm not even be in the same room as that person. And that's not healthy either. But you do need to be true to your values. And there is a point where turning the other cheek is appropriate. And there's another time when it's appropriate to, I don't think it's necessarily my role to turn over any money changer tables, but I think there is a point where you do have to stand up and say, well, I think that's wrong. Personally doesn't fit my values. I'm not going to go there. So in that sense, what comes into my business may be filtered through what other people have done that's successful, and I'm doing it too. And since getting a SaaS business coach, I've done a lot of that. And then there's other times when it's like, look, I can't find a way that's true to my values unless we do it my way. And I'd rather own a business that lines up with my values than a business that's worth 10 times the amount that it is. And just that's how I'm going to get to sleep at night.
It's interesting because I did the same thing. I started by doing everything the way that my head said it needed to be done, not because of disregarding other people, but at the time, it was really when I was diagnosed with ADD. I'd spent the first half of my life feeling really stupid and feeling like another, somebody like a misfit, essentially. Like I didn't fit in. I didn't know how to make my brain work the way everybody else's did. And when I think of a business misfit, by the way, I define it as kind of like somebody who's really focused on money because business is really just a way to make money. It's capitalism. And I mean, if you're looking at it the most basic level, and I think of a misfit as somebody who is more focused on people and also having fun and being creative. So I think there's a lot of different definitions for it.
Well, under that definition, I accept the definition then. That
I
I did
mean,
not.
I already knew you were.
Okay. Oh, I had said I don't think I am a misfit. In that sense, then by your definition, let's join
Oh, yeah,
hands and
you are, Kurt. Like, I'm sorry, but I was gonna tell you that, but yeah. But in the beginning, it was because I was so excited to have this new framework in my brain of how I could make things work. So, of course, every system had to be the most complicated system in existence, and now we both know that the simplest system is always the best, usually, because people won't follow complicated.
amen.
Yeah. I mean, I sometimes my systems are so simple and they look like because I'm a chaser of new information, sparkly things, new software that's going to make me a better, more organized person. When I've kind of just accepted like there are certain things that are never going to work, not never, but I just want to have one thing, like or two things. I don't want to have a million things because I don't move forward in that. But as I've gone on, the area of business that I've really struggled with is the sales and marketing because that's the place where it's really out of alignment for me with And it's not always about integrity. It's sometimes I think it's because I've been in so many masterminds, I've gone to so many high-level conferences and things like that and learned from so many people that I admire as well, but they're great salespeople. They're great at selling the thing that they have. We both know that the things that people have are not always great on the back end, even if they sell it that way. And I have overcompensated by underselling in that respect, even though I believe we do really, really like we're exceptional at what we do. I never, it's the one time when I'm like, we're the best, that it's going to completely fail. That's my brain tells me. So it's been a really hard transition for me to be okay with selling, with sales, with the funnels, with all the things. And of course, that's the easiest way because it works. And I mean, we know that it works because people told us that it works and we see it. But I also kind of, I don't know if you're like this. I go the opposite way too. I'm like, well, if everybody right now is doing this thing, shouldn't I be looking ahead of this?
I mean, you have to like, you're not a visionary if you're not. I mean, following the crowd, there's nothing really special about that. I do think though that, people like Steve Jobs, I read his autobiography, and I don't think anyone would question whether he was a visionary or not. If there's anyone left who thinks he's not a visionary, please love to hear your thoughts on that. But he was a visionary in my example, to the extent that Adolf Hitler was a bad guy, like the top of the heat, like he was the worst of the worst, and Steve Jobs was the visionaryest of the visionary. But and all extremes, I think you can vision to a point where, like after reading the autobiography of Steve Jobs, I think I'd like to talk to him, but I don't think I'd like to be friends with him. And because he was so in love with his vision that he was willing to just slit the throat of anybody on his team or on another team. But you know what? He, where would the world be without him, right? Like he really pushed the whole smartphone industry forward in a big way. And he made glass people believe that they could make touchscreen glass that can't break and scratch. I mean, he created what's called the reality distortion field, and that was his superpower. The reason I'm saying this is that I think that we are all on a continuum somewhere of so many different elements of our life. I don't play video games, but I'm here at this family reunion, and the kids pulled up a video game about how to be a goose and upset the farmer. You basically just are ticking off this farmer the whole time. Anyway, they were showing me some of these other video games, and they were showing how you can power up these different areas and stuff. And of course, as a business person, my first thought is that so this is how you make so that no two people are the same. You can be really powerful in one area and weak in another, and then you can be really powerful in that area, but maybe not so powerful in another. And this is exactly how human beings work. That video game people have figured out that there's 17 elements or 150 elements or whatever that makes up each person, and we are all on a continuum somewhere. I don't want to advocate for the fact that I am a great visionary on that continuum. I think I like where I'm at on the continuum. I feel like I'm ahead of a lot of people and I'm behind others, but my life, I'm not identified as a visionary. If you talk to my kids, they couldn't give a flying leap about whether I'm a visionary or not. I have a son that the only thing he cares about is that I can ride my mountain bike fast. And that's what makes him just talk to me and tell me stuff. And I hate that being a good mountain biker is his litmus test for whether I can be trustworthy or not with his heart. But for him, that's super key. I have another kid who he might as well be a stand-up comedian. He's just so funny. And so when I get loose and silly with him, he just comes open and alive for me. And so I have those little sliders that I'm working on as well. And then there's my wife who thinks that I'm not that funny. Like every time I tell a joke, I look at her and I'm like, I'm not getting the approval I'm looking for over there. And being a visionary, she really thinks that I am like a Steve Jobs. Like my wife would just run through burning buildings with me. But for her, there's the tender love, the care, the stopping, and like I want to fix everything. She doesn't want it to be fixed necessarily, and I'm working on that slider. So anyway, I guess all I'm saying is that you and I both, I think we have some sliders that are like incredibly the same. And that's like kind of the joy of talking to you is like, wow, you get me in this area. And then I think that what's cool is we are different and we have different things. But the danger is by saying, I am this slider. This is the thing that makes me who I am. And then I think you lose life.
Yeah. Well, I talk like that. I just said always, but I do. I talk like that. I say those words, and yet I am always pushing back against it as well. I'm always trying to outgrow it. This podcast is sponsored by HomeServiceVA.com. As an always recovering workaholic, I know what it's like to lie awake at 3 a.m. with your mind racing through endless mental task lists and constantly choosing between growing your business and having a life. That's why I started Home Service VA, to create the company I wish had existed when I started working with my first assistant. Now, we match entrepreneurs like you with virtual collaborators who understand your vision and can help bring it to life faster than you can on your own. Systems and support have transformed my life, giving me back precious time while scaling my impact. And listen, I can't transform your life, only you can. But we can find you a dedicated collaborator and provide you with the right systems and support so that you can create the change you want to see in this world without burning yourself out in the process. Visit homeserviceva.com today to learn more or to apply to work with us. Actually, my word of the year, and I don't even know if I believe in word of the year, but I do now because I said it was health, but that's boring. So it really is unlearn. There's so many things I have been learning and learning and learning for the past decade. I have not stopped. It has been led by a lot of people who, especially in the industry we were in, my journey in development was led by men. And so a lot of times, I had a different life. I'm a wife, I'm a mother. Like there's a lot of things in my life that were not in alignment with what their lives were like. And so I always wanted to keep up with them. And also, there was a tug inside of me. There was like something pulling me all the time that was like, this doesn't work for me. But I also want to be one of the guys. So I don't want to do that anymore. I've really had to work hard to outgrow that. And I feel like even though my words that come out, I know words are very important. I'm always also fighting against just accepting that I am a certain way. I'm very growth minded in that way. And I'm excited moving this year. If I stay focused on unlearn, it's really going to be about unlearning things that stay in my brain that I cannot let go of easily, that have been there forever. And it's like the hardest work. I don't know why I said I'm excited about it. Sounds really.
Well, being excited about hard work, my kids are so frustrated with me because every Saturday I finally get to go out and start digging trenches and doing stuff around the property to they're like, "Dad, what is wrong with you? It's the weekend." And I'm like, "No, hard work is I work with my mind all week. I can't wait to work with my hands. I love to do stuff." But yeah, hard work to me is fun. Standing in line at Disneyland, I truly every time I'm at Disneyland, I am like, people paid money to be here. This is crazy to me. We're gonna have 5 seconds on a roller coaster. We're gonna have 4 hours in line, and we're gonna do it again. We're gonna keep doing it again and again. And that's fun for people. I don't get it. That's okay, whatever. So yeah, I get your idea of hard work being something exciting. I just it's the same reason people are sweating their guts out on a basketball court, just putting their body through the ringer and having the time of their life doing it voluntarily in their free time, whatever. So anyway, enough of that analogy. My point is that you use the word unlearn and it being hard. And I'm just like really like letting that sink in. I just had a conversation with my mom and my dad. They're here. And I was just sitting down talking to them about how, mom, dad, you have to understand that everyone has a filter they see the world through. And that filter, they started building it when they were little kids. And then they just, every day they've added to that filter of the way they see it. And the way you see things, and my parents at this age, like they're in their 70s now, their filters are deep and very set in. And, it'd take a lot of momentum to change that filter at this point or unlearn, as you're saying, like unlearn the thing. Because, once you experience something, you can't unexperience it, but you do need to like make room for what other experiences can bring. And it becomes difficult at the age of 70. And, thank goodness that Melody, you're learning this at this time in your life. But I guess the point is that every employee that comes into your life, every customer that comes into your life, every new friend, every person you work in the community with, every person, like as you drive down this is a little game I like to play. Every time you drive down the freeway and you see this just jam packed with cars, and you start feeling this like, get out of my way. You're an idiot driver. And you start like treating these cars like they're not real people. A little game I like to play is I wonder what the story is in that car. What are they talking about right now? Are they talking to their kid? Do they have a kid? Did they just lose a kid? Have they been married before? Are they currently married? Are they having an affair with their spouse right now? Are they doing really great at work and they're super excited about getting home to tell about something great? Like I like to just imagine these like crazy stories of like that's what's going on in that car. And then you look around at all the cars, there's these stories going on. And that filter that people are seeing the world through is you can't fathom it. Your filter's not capable. And so what you're doing right now is, I think, you're calling it unlearned, but to me, it's like this like new agility that you're giving yourself is the ability to say, my filter needs some flexibility. I have to be able to take away things that I held as true to be able to understand if it is true. Like truth fears no test. So if I'm willing to pull aside my thoughts on that this has to be a true statement, my spirituality went through some serious turmoil this last 3, 4 years. Like, how lucky was I to be born into the right gospel, right? What are the odds that I wasn't born in India? Whew, good thing I dodged that bullet, that I didn't have to grow up believing, something completely different. And then you start thinking to yourself, whoa, 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 whoa. If you believe what's true is true, you got to let go of it for a second, hold it lightly, and go grab something else just to see, because truth doesn't fear the test. And you're doing that with your experiences. And I love that. I love it for you, and I need it for me.
I heard somebody say, I hope I get this right, that they have strong beliefs loosely held. And I really try to practice that as often as I can. Just having been in, home service for so many years, I'm around a lot of people who have very different beliefs than me, and I grew up in that kind of world. I'm also in a part of America that's very liberal. I've also traveled throughout the world just like you. And so I think just traveling alone, that brought a depth or just insight into exactly what you're saying. Like, everybody thinks so differently. We all kind of want the same things. We all approach it very differently. And so I really try to hold a lot of space for people, even when it's very hard. And sometimes it's very hard. But that has allowed me to make a lot of friends and to have a bigger community as well. And it helps me to continue growing because I do feel like if my brain stops growing, then I'm dying, essentially.
Even the bad guy thinks he's a good guy. Everybody, like you just said, everyone like kind of wants the same things, but they go about it very differently. Mel, even the bad guy is doing what he thinks is the right thing. And I'm just saying it in the movie because they make it very clear. The writers need you to be on one side, whatever. I think the one time I've ever watched a movie, I think there's been several of them. Only one comes right to mind, but there's been times where they flip you from you think you're watching the good guy and you find out he's actually the bad guy. But there's Marvel, as wonderful as I don't follow movies very much, but Marvel movies, I'm sure people are like, "Wow, Kurt, you really like deep movies." But there's this guy who wants to
Wait,
have these.
Kurt, didn't you just watch Wicked? Isn't that what that movie's about?
Oh my gosh, yes! I had to stop halfway through and come out here,
I
but I
haven't
was
even
thinking about.
watched it, Kurt,
Oh, you
but
haven't?
I'm going to. Trust me, I have to. I
Okay.
know.
Yeah, even that movie's even better. Like Elphaba, the Wicked Witch of the West, find out she's got a heart of gold. And you're like, what the heck? You're turning everything around on me. Because everybody thinks they got the right thing. That guy that wants to snap his fingers, he's got this like thing with all the jewels in it, and he wants to snap his fingers and kill half the people so that he can make the world a better place. He thinks he's doing it for the right reasons. Yeah, and Wicked. The thing is that if you don't give space for the bad guy to have good motives, you're going to be in a fight where maybe you're both right, right? And I think that that's what politics in the United States for sure right now is like we just need you to believe that one side has it all right, and then we're fine because then we'll be able to keep our upheaval going, and it's so toxic. But we have to know that everyone you run across, even the people that remember the people I was telling you about earlier that I literally did. I mean, if I'm being honest, I think I even hated them at one point, and I hate saying that I would think that way, but I'm not there at this point in my life. I feel like I've done a good job of sort of fixing that within myself. But those people that you hate, they don't wake up in the morning trying to figure out how to just be horrible people. Even if you believe that. I mean, that's a good place to start. If you think someone's doing that, you already know you're wrong because it's just not happening.
Yeah, and I think the other part of that is, and maybe this is just because I have way too much empathy for everybody in the whole universe, but everybody has a story, everybody has pain. I've always said about the home service industry, it's full of a lot of people who have had a lot of trauma and came out of school. Maybe they didn't know a lot like me, like I didn't feel like I was smart. I didn't quite fit into the system, and or maybe they didn't fit in other ways and they want to prove something. And so even as I think what I've learned about certain industries is that they have the quote unquote growth mindset. They're always reading the books and doing the things. But with that growth mindset, I think it's so important that you're growing your emotional intelligence or those, and that is lacking. And I didn't realize that when people were talking about growth, they were talking really solely about business growth. You have to understand how to be a good leader or a good, with your employees if you want your business to grow. So it's like I think people kind of it becomes an offshoot of their growth because you have to but it doesn't lead to that inner growth. And that's the work that I want to do. I don't know why. I've always been like this, but I want to understand the world. I want to understand my brain and your brain and it'll never happen. Like, I'm not gonna understand everybody's stuff, right? But I wanna be open to understanding it, and I think that a lot of people aren't there yet. Do you feel that that's something that you've witnessed? I've always thought of you as being very emotionally intelligent, very wise, and you're also a modest human, so you will say, "Oh, that's not how I think of myself," but you've managed to be something of a nobody can not like you. You're very much I mean, maybe there's one person out there, but
Oh, I've learned that there's actually a few. There's a
okay,
few
well,
for
that's
sure.
on them. That's on them.
And you know what? If you really want people to like you, that can be really hard to do. You have to grow past that as well. Melanie, you say I'm a modest person and everything, but here's my experience. The person that thinks they're great, in my experience, they're just not that great. Not in the way that they think that they are. Everyone is great. They're greater than me in some way, right? If we go to those sliders I was talking about earlier, everybody has a slider above mine somewhere. I mean, go to that person who's sitting in a wheelchair and they're nonverbal, and you're like, wow, this disabled person with cerebral palsy, what do they have to offer? Well, if we got down to it and looked at all the sliders, I got something to learn from that person, right? So yeah, no one is good as far as like the scripture goes, right? But the fact is that your mindset that you're talking about, I really strive to hold that space to say, I'm not just being modest. I'm not just trying to be humble. I'm trying to be cognizant of the fact that I will never be whole in this life. And there are other people who are more whole in areas that I am not. And it is up to me to find in that person that I'm working with, if I want to continue in relationship with them, I have to find out where do we build each other and where do they build me and how can I build them and what slider, if we're going to be in that kind of a relationship, you've got your casual friendships and it's not super critical there because I can't hold that many relationships. You and I are both pretty emotionally, I don't know how to put it. We're emotionally draining people because we latch so tightly into that emotional psyche. Being friends with me at a deep level, it's exhausting. It really is, and I don't have space for more than one wife. I don't have space for more than the kids I've got right this second, like, I just I'm emotionally sort of at my red line, so to
Do you
speak.
say that it's exhausting because you don't have time for, like, BS because you go deep? Is that why you think so?
Ooh, I
Because
don't
for
know, maybe
me
that could
yeah,
be.
well, for me, I don't have time for surface level relationships. I've had a lot of those in my life, and I feel like that is emotionally exhausting to me. Because I never get from those relationships real connection, real talk, essentially, and it feels debilitating, it feels like I'm trapped when I'm in those kinds of relationships, whereas when I have somebody that I can deep dive with, yeah, for the wrong person or it can be really draining, if that's not their way of being, or if it's not a good connection. I'm not gonna say the wrong person because that made it sound like
You might be onto something here. I'm not sure if I can wholeheartedly like, the authentic side of me is like, yeah, do not be unauthentic with me. So in that sense, I don't have time for the BS. In the other sense, I do love having light and fun conversations, and I don't have to get down to the very meaning of life with every single one of my relationships. And I don't want
oh,
people to think,
no.
yeah,
Yeah, that's not what I was implying. I don't
okay,
have time for but the space for that exists in the relationships that matter to me. Yeah, I'm willing to do the hard work with that person of hearing them That's the thing. You can't have a lot of connections like that because they can be draining. I can be draining when I'm going through my deep,
Yeah.
dark times, right? We don't talk about enough, but entrepreneurs, there's a depth inside of us, or maybe it's vision. I don't know what it is, but it can lead to depression. It can lead, I'm an all or nothing person. I see sparkly, or I'm like, why am I even here? There's ground, but
I know, but
it's
you have to be
hard.
so careful. We both have to be so careful in that regard because it's, this pendulum, it spends a lot of time down at the bottom, we keep living our lives at the edges of it, but yeah, I need to sit with that a little bit, and Melody, I don't know if it's possible for us to have a podcast every week. Probably
I
not.
know. I was like,
But honestly, we could unpack this forever, and I this is the sort of thing that, like, really, truly, I feel like this is what I'm here on earth for, is to really talk about and understand what does God really want right now for me? And not just what does he want from me, but what can I give to his plan? How do I help to be the grease in the gears? What do I do to make this existence most meaningful for me and those who I have been placed in contact with? And, you know, when you're doing that, it is so hard to have 100 friendships that are really deep, and I know I've been on stage at conferences, and I've, made offhanded comments about how I'm not looking for more friends, I've got all the friends I can handle, and people will come up to me and be like, "Hey, I know you're not looking for more friends, but I just want you to know, I really felt something when you were talking, and I would love to be one of your friends. I'm not saying I'm try," and I'm like, "I don't think you understand what I'm saying is that, like, I'm okay with having more acquaintances and stuff like that, but, like, you don't want to be with me on the phone every day. You don't want to be with me in that push-pull relationship where we're pushing each other hard, and I'm calling you out on your crap, and you're calling me out on mine, and then I can go to you and tell you when I'm struggling with my kids and all that, you
I
know?"
think that there are certain people who would want that, but not everybody. Most people don't want that. You're right. And also, I wouldn't want that. If you're calling on the phone every day, I hate phone calls, so that's not gonna work for
Oh,
me, Kurt.
oh, amen, amen. Yeah, as a boxer or nothing for me. Yeah,
Text is fine. Your face is fine, this because you exist if you're in my face, but phone calls, I just don't have tolerance
yeah,
for.
my sisters, I'm here at this family reunion, and they talk to each other every day on the phone for hours, and I'm, like, listening to this, I'm like, wow. Like, wow, and what are you talking about? And they're like, "Sometimes it's just silent, we just have our earbuds in, and we're just doing work and just kinda living our life," and I'm like, "That is a level even don't want to ever."
Yeah, that's a lot.
That's how they love each other.
Yeah, I love your family. Your family is so, I've had the pleasure of meeting them many times now, and they're just really wonderful.
They really are,
Yeah, very lucky,
and
and,
they love you, by the way. When I told them I was
aw,
coming out to do this, my mom, my mom, I guess, because
I know your mom, yeah,
she's
from
like,
all
"Oh
the
my gosh, Melody Edwards."
oh, I love your mom. I've met both your mom, your dad, your kids, all the people, and I love Rachel the most because she is just so solid and so wonderful.
I wake up almost every morning and I'm like, "Ah, she's still here. I can't believe this is happening."
Oh my god. That's amazing. I love hearing that. I have a question for you about because this is hard for me as an ADHD or sparkly brained human. I fight habits and routines even though I desperately need them. So are there certain things that you do every day that keep you grounded? Are you ritualistic in that way? And is it hard ever or have you had to learn?
Well, I learned it on the window cleaning. I learned it in my window cleaning business. I learned to always leave my tools in my path back to the van. So if I was done with the ladder, it had to be on my path back to the van. If I was done with the towel, it had to be on the ladder on the path back to the van, or just in a bucket on the way back to the van. I had to have a path back to the van. I learned that day like 7 probably on the because you leave enough stuff behind and you're driving, kicking yourself. And so you start building systems. And the systems that I built was take advantage of the path that you're already on and don't make yourself do anything you don't want to do. Those are both really important because if you build really complicated, you said it earlier, if you build really complicated systems, no one will follow it, including yourself. So I want to lose weight. Well, I'm going to stop eating carbs. I love ice cream. I love milkshakes. I love sugar. I love brown sugar and powdered sugar and every kind of sugar. And so, like, don't do it, Kurt. You're not, you will fail before you start. So I just start building away. I'm going to have meetings every morning. I'm going to talk in those meetings every morning while I'm walking. I will walk on my walk, and I will do all of my meetings in the morning while I'm walking, and, I walk 5 miles a day,
Do
and
you?
yeah, well, actually, I've swapped it for mountain biking now with my boys, so I actually have had to change my ritual, but I'm just telling you that for about a decade, that was
Do you mountain bike and take meetings at the
no, no,
same
no, no, no,
time?
no,
Because that would
no.
be amazing.
I actually did try it. I did try it, but you go in and out of reception, and the noise is just absurd. So I'm not above trying it, but it didn't work. But for a decade, that was my morning at 5 a.m. Get up, get ready, go walk. Now, again, in Arizona, and I have people on the East Coast, so I could talk to people at 5 a.m. my time, 8 a.m. East Coast, and I could be out before the sun was getting too hot because the sun comes up about 5, and I'd be out walking, and I'd get my 5 miles in, shower, get ready for the rest of my day. I could get into all sorts of rituals, but here's the point I'm trying to get to is that now I use my calendar. If it's in my calendar, I promise myself I'll follow it, and I don't break that promise. And one of the things that I have to do to keep myself sane is I have to put those mountain bike rides into my calendar. And when it's summertime, it's 5 a.m. and I've moved my meetings to get out of the way. And when it's wintertime, right now, I actually, because I'm in Arizona, I now move an hour different. You guys all move, but I stayed the same. So now I'm only 2 hours behind East Coast. So now what I do is I start working early and I get off by 3 p.m. every day. And I'm on the trail with my boys. And that is something that even if I'm at 1 o'clock in the afternoon and I'm like, I don't think I can make it. I just look down at the calendar and I go, look how much space there is until you get to mountain biking. You can push through, you can make this happen. Everything that I do, like I knew I was gonna do push-ups. I want to do push-ups. Well, while I'm waiting for the water to get hot in the shower, before I get totally ready in the shower, I'll turn the water on to warm. I'm gonna do 10 push-ups, then I'm gonna get in the shower. I was already gonna be getting in the shower. If you were to break a sweat, wouldn't matter. You're gonna get in the shower anyway. And I know I don't like push-ups, but anyone could do 10 push-ups. So I would do 10 push-ups. Before I knew it, I'm like, you know what? I'm just gonna do 50 real quick. I can just do it. Like it only take like 30 seconds to do 50 push-ups. Because it just gets better and better and stronger. And then guess what? Push-ups weren't so hard. So then I was like, you know what? Before I even turn the water on, I'm gonna do 50. Then I'm gonna turn the water on and do 50 more. And then you're like, oh my gosh, I can't believe this is happening.
Can I ask, are these girl push-ups or boy push-ups?
Well, they are boy push-ups, but I'll have you know, right now, I'm training to do one-arm push-ups. I decided I wanna try to do
Wow.
one push-ups. So, I watched a YouTube video on how to train so that you take your hands and you go down on one with the other one spread, and then you do it on the other side, and so next time you and I talk, I will be able to do one-arm push-ups, but yeah, these are full-fledged push-ups, but 10 was hard day 1, and you know what? I don't even know why I'm telling you all these things. The point I'm trying to make is that it is really fun to do things that you're good at, and it's really not fun to do things you're not good at. So if you can schedule it in a way that you'll do the thing and not take it like, I've learned from an exercise program and diet, if I am so sore I don't wanna work out the next day, I won't work out the next day. If I am hating what I'm eating, I am going to binge like crazy. I will eat cookies and ice cream and no good food. So what I found is there's good foods that I like, and there are protein drinks that taste just like a milkshake.
There are, yeah.
And so guess what? I found some stuff that I can use to really work the system, you know? And so I'd love to hear your approach because what I found is that ADD is a game that you have to be willing to play because you get hyper
100%.
focused and you lose focus. Like both of them are just as strong as the other. So you have to leverage it. So how do you leverage it?
Well, the very first thing, I mean, people are gonna think this is crazy maybe, but anything that I need to do for self-care, like brushing my teeth or doing, washing my face or any of those things, they all live in the shower because if I have to do a 5, 10 step ritual of self-care, it's not gonna happen sometimes, and then I'm very much worse off for the wear. And I don't like admitting that, like, nobody likes admitting they're not gonna brush their teeth because that's a basic human right, right? I don't know, but we
I
have to
get it.
brush our teeth. I don't want to. No, I don't know. It doesn't make me feel happy to brush my teeth, so if I don't want to, I'm gonna put it in the shower where it's just a part of the thing that I do in there.
Yes. You're doing the same
And
thing. Yeah.
yeah, and packing, I was traveling so much the past 3 years, and every time I have to pack for a trip, it was very painful. It's like I'm doing it for the first time, and I never know what to put in the bag, and so now all of my toiletries live in, like toiletry bag, even the ones I use every day, I just leave them there so that when I go somewhere, it's just ready to go.
Your travel toothbrush versus your regular
Yeah.
toothbrush. Travel
Well,
toothpaste for
besides
your
the
regular.
toothbrush, yeah. But, like, everything's already there, it's ready to go. I even got so good, almost had I had travel clothes and I had regular clothes, and never the
Oh,
2 shall meet because
that's so smart.
well, and it's usually just versions of the clothes I like wearing anyway, but
Yeah.
I would leave them in the suitcase because I was doing it so much that it was just, like, exhausting.
So your suitcase, mine's already half packed before I start, kind of for the same reasons, but your suitcase is fully packed before you
I said
start.
was fully packed when I was traveling a lot, yes. I got out of that habit, and now it's still painful if I go somewhere, but I'm not traveling the same way as I was. But yeah, it would be pretty much almost fully packed. I even tried to make visual guides because 'cause I'm such a visual person. So if I have to and I'm dyslexic, so I have to think in words. If I wrote down a list, it's gonna be harder for me to focus on that than if I just have pictures that have 3 of this outfit, for instance, not 3 of that outfit, but you know what I mean. I do tend to hyper focus on the part of making myself set up for success in the things that I do. And with the biggest thing that I did was get an executive assistant. Like I said, she's the melody manager, and in our company, that's what everything that we do with me is an experiment. So, most of my assistants don't stay with me very long. I'm about to lose another one. Christine is going soon, and it's not that she's leaving the company, she's leaving me. She's learned my brain, and there are other places in the company where that she can be really successful for us. And also, I'm like a two-person job. When I'm really open and my brain is just like able to do all the things that it wants to do, it's exhausting for Christine. It's exhausting for anybody who would have to be she is my executive functioning skill. Literally, that's what she is. And so that's kind of how I view it because I know that it's really exhausting, it's energy taking to think a lot for me. So even like Zoom meetings, to start a Zoom meeting is hard for me sometimes because I have 3 different Zooms. Anything more than a 3-step process, it's hard. So I have really come into the idea that my energy is the most important thing that I have. We all have the same amount of time. Everybody talks about time management. As you get older, energy management, energy using that energy when it might be 2 or 3 hours a day, that's like my biggest brain time that I could use. I need to save that for things that aren't like starting Zoom meetings. So it is a game. I'm always trying to figure it out. And because of that, I think it makes us able to be successful helping other people who don't maybe think this way or who never got diagnosed when they were 30 and didn't have 18 years to study things. So it's been really exciting though, because I get to do that for my work. And that's pretty cool. Can I ask you a question about AI, which is just showing my ADHD brain because I don't want
Yeah,
to
let's do
forget
it.
this. And we've been talking for so long, we literally could talk every day, all the time. Let's talk about robots. For context, 2 years ago, when AI just kind of blew up, right around December, I don't remember what year it was, but I really got scared that me, the person who had started a virtual assistant company, was going to lose their business because everybody already calls virtual assistants robots, sometimes AI. And so I started learning, and I've been deep in the learning ever since. I don't talk about it a lot. The reason for it is because I really want to empower the small business owners that we work with through their virtual assistants knowledge as well. However, it has been quite the journey. I've gone to a lot of different events and trying to keep up. It's all new. So even the people who know, they don't know because it's always changing, it's always evolving.
In fact, that's how you know if they know. If
Yes.
someone tells you they know what's gonna happen, they don't know.
Yeah. And I've been in a lot of the people who have the most because I don't wanna be in the most technical spaces, but it's a lot of marketing worlds that have been gotten into AI the deepest because it helps with marketing.
Copy and, like, planning, yeah, all that stuff, yeah.
So I just got back from one actually. And what I was thinking about for you is as a software company, this is, I mean, it's changing the landscape every day. Every software company's marketing right now is like, and we have AI empowered this and that. Now, AI has always been in software, artificial intelligence, guys, I should probably say that because there are people who don't know about it still. How are you planning like, how do you do that? When you have a software company that's been around a while, you have plans for the vision, and then it's electricity basically, and electricity was just invented and it's blowing up the world basically in its new fangled ways. How are you keeping up with it, staying in front of it, and how is your vision changing, or is it?
My vision is changing. All of our intelligence in our software was always algorithm based. Algorithm based intelligence is really cool because it doesn't get pushed around. It's basically math. Like algorithm based intelligence is if this and this and this, then this, but else if this, then that, and if and there's a lot of if then else, and that algorithm for crew cal is great because it can schedule jobs really mathematically great with the right crew that can do it in the right amount of time and all that. And people say, well, why don't you bring AI into it? If you ever chat with an AI chatbot, the best place to exploit AI is that it can be pushed around really easy. It's very
Yeah,
movable and it forgets the earlier part of the conversation. So, for example, I was using ChatGPT as my coach for cycling, and so I built a thread, a GPT called Coach GPT, and it was really great for like 3 weeks. It remembered my training programs and everything else. It remembered my power output for my different workouts, and then all of a sudden it just started giving me garbage. Our programmers are using AI as well in their programming, and it's really, really smart. And then all of a sudden it just becomes stupid. And you have to be smart enough to realize when it's become stupid. And that's really hard. I'm seeing a lot of good application of AI, and I've made a commitment to our Brittany, our product manager, that I don't talk about stuff that hasn't shipped yet, even though she does
yeah,
test people regularly. So without breaking my promise to Brittany, I can tell you this. Our philosophy is that if AI is doing something for you that adds value without input, that is the best applications of AI that we've seen. So AI is good at analyzing something put before it in the moment. It's not good at a constant reflection unless you're storing those reflections and then serving it up to it individually and spoon feeding it. So our focus right now is allowing AI to make suggestions based on very specific and instant data input and specific situations, because that will allow for really cool, insightful stuff. But then those insights have to be thrown away, essentially, either turned into data and stored or thrown away and waiting for the next data AI. So, where we feel that AI is not good is continuing to build strategy on top of strategy it's already built, or continuing to build intelligence upon the intelligence that it has itself declared. Because what happens is then the outliers start to really sway what it's doing, or even worse than that. And this is, I think that AI is going to change, and we're gonna get new. It's going to get better.
yeah,
Like the AI we know today is not the AI we know tomorrow. But what's got to happen is that sometimes there's no rhyme or reason why it just spit out this garbage, and if you trust it, then you can't bank on it. But like anything else, where there's a lot of data points, those outliers start to show themselves. So we also have to start collecting a lot of data. But then you have privacy concerns about what are you feeding my data into from an AI perspective, and we have to respect the fact that people don't want OpenAI to have their data, as an example. And I'm not, to be clear, we are not feeding data to OpenAI right now, and we don't have plans to do that either. But you can partition off certain segments of OpenAI, and you could feed data to OpenAI and hope that they're following all the rules they say they're going to follow.
right.
It gets really tricky. So AI, you know what, Melanie? There's going to be a virtual assistant at some point that you guys are either going to have to be part of, and you'll be guiding AI down that path, or you're not going to have a
The
virtual
company.
assistant company probably at some point. It's kind
Well,
of like,
yeah, it's true. Like I saw, and I've been working on this a lot. I really see the future as there are going to be AI agents in people's org charts, and I've seen people already doing it. And yeah, my vision for it is not like we made up a 40-hour work week at some point that no entrepreneur sticks to, but that's what Americans like, right? And I could see people continuously inserting AI into their companies in certain ways to get rid of people. My way of wanting to use AI is to empower people, to give more space in people's lives, and to not just be, and I have to remember this because my brain is not open enough yet to take it all in. But my goal would be to work less, to enjoy more. And I think it's going to be really hard for people to adapt to that kind of mentality, but I do think that that's gonna be possible much quicker than people realize. But it's gonna be who's gonna go that way, and who's gonna just stick to, like, humans work the same amount, and we're just gonna also have robots.
I don't know. Elon Musk is saying that people are just gonna get paid to stay home.
Yeah, I mean, he's a visionary of visionaries, he is one of those Steve Job types.
I mean, look, when cell phones came out, who really thought that cell phones were gonna take us to a place where we called our taxis on our phone and we were too lazy to go get fast food and we would have fast food brought to us? I mean, we don't know. We just we're just babes right now in the AI life, but we do know this. We've lived enough. You and I grew up calling places, not people. We would dial a number. I didn't have a rotary phone. Well, we did have a rotary phone at the house,
I
but we
did
didn't
at
use
grandma's.
yeah, my friends did too. But we had touch tone phones and we called landlines and we did all that, and then we watched the world change like crazy. And so I think that we're equipped. We've seen it before. We're gonna see it again. And things are moving so fast right now. It's neck breaking speed. These processors that we carry in our pocket are more powerful than what got them to the moon. People talk about this stuff,
Yeah,
but I don't know if we really fully appreciate the fact that we're on the hockey stick portion of a exponential curve, and things are exploding so fast that whatever you think is cool and normal and whatever, like there's just really no one who's not going to be touched by it, and will be touched differently for sure. But I mean, they're 3D printing houses now, Melody. I mean, a contractor, they never thought that this would matter. AI doesn't matter. We could have architecture and construction and everything being done with a company coming in and just printing your house.
they have, an AI-powered window cleaner now for skyscrapers. You know how they used to have those, like, dumb ones that just, like, scrubbed and they didn't do the greatest job? Now they have one where it will scrub it, and then the AI analyzes the glass to see if there's any spots or anything, and then it just focuses on cleaning that part. I saw so many cool things last week with AI that's coming. One idea is with the goggles that the I don't know what they're called, AI goggles or whatever, or is goggles a word? Am I making up a word here?
You may be referring to the glasses, the AI glasses.
Glasses! Like, people wear glasses, yes, not
Yeah.
goggles.
I mean, you can put stuff around and make them goggles, though, I'm sure.
Well, think of this. How many years did it took me a decade to make a really great training program. I had to take all the knowledge out of my head. I had to I started making little videos, but it was a lot of work. Think of the fact that you can have somebody wear glasses now that can record. You can be in a different place, and for a newbie who might be a plumber, let's say, who's in a position where it's something they're trying to figure out, they can be showing you exactly what they're seeing, and you can be guiding them while also having that turned into some sort of troubleshooting,
Well, not
video
just
or
that, augmented reality. You could literally be showing them
training.
pipes that aren't there and marking up the pipes that are there and showing where the fittings I mean, Melody, this is already happening. People are already doing 3D walkthroughs of buildings that don't exist.
I've seen that, it's amazing. Yeah. Kurt, this is a two-parter, by the way, I just realized for sure. It's an hour and a half, so it's, like, the longest I've ever gone with anybody.
Also, I can't feel my fingers anymore.
Oh my gosh.
Also, my bladder is so full that I'm starting to get concerned, but we haven't gotten to the timeline portion, so I'm like, "We're gonna get
I
there."
know.
I'm having so much fun.
I
So,
think we have
yeah.
to do something. Well, there's one last part that I do need to ask you. We're not gonna be able to do timeline. Just hold it. It's a 1 minute, and it's the Misfit minute. Okay, you ready?
Sounds good. Yeah.
Okay. Early bird or night owl?
Early bird.
Introvert or extrovert?
Introvert.
More time or more money?
Time.
Type A or type ADD?
ADDDDD.
Saver or spender? I
Saver.
just choose one. I know,
I
it's
I I
so
mean,
hard.
saver.
Well, we know what you mean when you say workaholic or recovering workaholic? What's the gut say?
I think I'm still a workaholic, Mel.
You get off at 3 PM to go biking with your
Yeah,
son, so
I know.
But your brain is thinking about
We'll talk about it. We'll talk about that at some
yeah.
other time.
Okay. Adventure or relaxing?
Adventure.
Things or experiences?
Experience.
Phone call or text?
Text. Vox.
Plan ahead, go with the flow.
Oh, go with the flow.
Hands-on or delegate?
Delegate. As long
I
as I can
know.
hands on a little bit. But all right.
Compete or collaborate?
Collaborate.
Sweet or savory?
Sweet.
Quick thinker or overthinker?
Overthinker.
You did it. I think you even
Nice.
won still. But
Yeah.
yeah, that's it. You won because I said you did. I don't know. Everybody is a part of all of those things sometimes, like there are so many of those questions that I was like, the same as you, but the natural tendency of our spirit.
And I try to be true to that. Like there's things that I want to be that I'm not
Me
proud
too.
of. Yeah.
Aspirational, but they're hard work. Okay, Kurt, I'm so grateful that you did this with me. Let's start our new podcast together, as long as either of us are not doing the work to make it happen. And I'm going to let you go and be with your family and use what do they call it in the Philippines?
CR. Comfort room.
The comfort room. Thank you. My team says it all the time. And I'm just so grateful to you. Thank you for being here today with me. And it was so fun. It was too much fun.
Okay. All
Tell
right.
your whole fam I say bye and hello. Listen, Misfit, if you believe in the mission of this podcast, I need you to like and subscribe right now. Pause this, go find the podcast. You might already be there, which is easy. Just go like and subscribe. And if you really, really believe in it and you want Misfits to unite and change the whole business world, please rate it. Rating is the best way to get the word out to attract more like-minded misfits like you and me so that we can overthrow the takers of this world who currently dominate the business universe. Now, I know I sound like I'm some courageous lady of business. I am not. I can't do this alone and I don't want to. I need you, and we need a coalition of fellow misfits. So do it now. The quicker we take action, the quicker we can change our business world. Now let's go do great things, and I will see you next week. I'm a misfit. 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 I'm a misfit.